Hey everyone, Surina here. You're watching Now It's So Vivid, and today I'm going to do the 17 Witchy questions tag. So vivid. I wanted to get a tag in because it's something that I enjoy watching as a viewer, is when other people do tags. I've never actually participated in one, and the closest I've come is the YouTube Pagan Challenge, and because that was such a long commitment, I didn't quite make it. So I'm going to do this one. I feel like this is a good entryway for me to do other prompted videos. So here we go. Question 1. When times get tough to you, do you fight or take flight? I guess it depends entirely on the situation. I'm kind of a fighter. I don't know that I've ever really run away from tough times. I've always kind of not had that option. But from a magical perspective, I would say that I actually choose the third option most of the time, which is to freeze. And that's actually a deliberate choice of mine, because I've learned that if you jump right into spell work when times are tough and you need something to be better, it makes for sloppy magic and it makes for unpredictable outcomes. So for me, I have a tendency to pause and sort of, go within and sort of check with myself. And if after a few days I still feel the same way, then maybe I'll do something, or maybe I'll have a more practical, mundane solution to the particular challenge that I'm having. Number 2, is there a certain color you connect with? Purple. I love purple everything. All of my friends make fun of me for loving purple so much, and I really like it that so many of you also like purple. I feel like it's a super witchy color, and it's definitely mysterious. It's definitely got a lot of queen energy because of the common association with royalty. And I, in particular, am a huge fan of purple's presence in nature. I think when it happens, it's loud and it's beautiful and it really catches your eye and it's rare. So I feel like there's some sort of value to that. Number 3, what is your sun, moon, and rising? I am a Cancer sun on the cusp of Gemini. I am a Pisces moon, and my rising sign is Capricorn. Something you would change if you could. Question 4, the self, the world, or magically. If I could change anything, I would, well, let's do all 3 of them. So if I could change anything about myself, I would definitely be less critical of myself. And that is something that I am currently working on changing. But if this were like an insta change, that would be the first thing. In the world, I would definitely remove intolerance and hate and closed-mindedness. And magically, I don't know, if I don't really want to change anything about myself magically, because that is such a deeply personal experience. Like this for me is not just a practical lifestyle choice or whatever. It's also a spiritual path, so I don't want to like jump ahead. I'd rather have the learning experience. Number 5, are you passing down your knowledge to the next generation? If so, in what way? I would say sure, yeah. I have no children of my own, but that is something that I do plan to have someday. I know that me and my fiance are looking forward to starting a family in a few years, and I feel like there will be a lot of opportunities for me to share my spiritual path with them, if that's what they're interested in. I'm also, I have friendships, relationships with my friends' kids, and I'm kind of like an auntie, so some of them are aware that I am a witch, 2 in particular, and they ask me questions about it all the time, and they're small children, so I like to humor them and tell them the truth. And each of their respective parents are pretty open-minded about that kind of thing, so it's not like I'm trying to recruit them, but if they have questions, I'm happy to answer them, and if that affects them in some way or influences them, then so be it. Number 6, Ancestor Connections. Who's coming through? Ancestor work is something that's kind of new for me. I'm not totally familiar with all of the ways to connect to the ancestors yet, because as of Samhain last year, that was the first time I'd ever actually deliberately done any connective work with my ancestors. I put up an ancestor altar in our living room. It's sitting pretty right down there still, and I'm really fond of it, and as the year goes on and we get closer to Samhain this year, I'm coming up with more ideas on how I can, you know, actively participate in that ritual space, or it's not a ritual space, in that devotional space, that's what I meant to say. So I've been inspired by different things that I can use as offerings and different ways that I can incorporate that altar into the different seasons. I have it decorated for spring right now, and I'll probably jazz it up for summer too. Who knows? Who knows? As far as who's coming through, I sort of focus more on sort of my immediate family members, my grandma, and also one of my first cousins who passed away when he was in his teens, and we were very close, so he plays a big role in that setting, and some friends from school who have passed. So it's not really just about people who are blood related to me, it's just anyone in my life, living or dead, that has had some impact on my spiritual path or on me as a person. They go on the ancestor altar. And pets. Pets are always on the altar. Question 7. Do you prefer to do magic with others or by yourself? Yes. I like both. I do prefer to do my sort of day-to-day practice by myself, but I love performing ritual with other people. It was one of my favorite things about going to witch camp last summer, and one of the reasons why I'm so bummed out that I can't go this year. I'm a little tight on cash because of the wedding, and otherwise I would be there. So yeah, shame that I'll miss out on that experience this year, but you know, I would recommend doing group ritual to anyone. And if that's not something that you're comfortable with, that's fine. But for me, I had a really transformative experience at camp last year. So, you know, and I feel as if that, you know, the potency of being in a ritual setting with that many other people, that really had an impact on me. So, yeah. Let's see. Do you feel there's only one type of meditation? No. No, there's plenty of different types of meditation. If there weren't plenty of types of meditation, I probably couldn't meditate because I have such a colorful personality, and on any given day I have a certain level of energy. So I have some attention deficit issues. I have a tendency to fidget, and I have a really hard time keeping still, and meditation has been a challenge for me, but it's something that I'm working on, and I like using palm stones, and I want to get one of those clickety cube things. I think that would be great for meditation. But I also like to stare at a candle, look into my scrying mirror. I have a glass orb, a crystal ball as they call them, that I like to do scrying in, and sometimes I'll just use that as a focal point for meditation. I do meditation based on sound, so there's like a couple of YouTube videos online that I stick on whenever I have to do a particular kind of meditation, or if I feel like a particular visual would help me in that moment. I like to visualize around the sounds that I listen to. So no way, there is not just one kind of meditation. There is all kinds of meditation, all the things. Number 9, what is your favorite flower and why? Oh, I like all sorts of flowers. All of my favorite flowers are fragrant flowers. I like hyacinths and lilacs and roses and carnations. Yeah, those are the flowers that I like. I also, if we're talking aesthetics here, I also am a fan of irises because I love the color. I also love pansies. I like to incorporate certain edible flowers into baking, and pansies is a big one. Oh, lavender too, if I haven't said that already. That's something that I can incorporate into baking and smells amazing. So yeah, I love flowers. Have you tried a new form of divination this year? Question 10. Well, yeah, this was the year that I bought that crystal ball, so it was my first time really sitting down and attempting ball scrying, and I can't say I'm very good at it yet, but it is definitely cool, and I feel like there's so much potential in that medium, in that, you know, divination medium, that, you know, you can incorporate all sorts of backgrounds and to your ball so that you can see particular images. It's very reflective of what's around it. So if you dress up the outside, candles is a really great way of doing this, especially if it's dark. I'm really into ball scrying right now. I think it's super cool, and of course it evokes such an old-timey image of, you know, an oracle. I'm into that. I don't mind summoning up that image. Number 11, what is your favorite way to connect to the elements? Well, I can just sort of go through. So my favorite ways to connect to the earth are things like hiking and gardening and just overall being outside, but I like doing the potted plants. We have a lot of potted plants in our house. My fiance is very passionate about that. In fact, he'll like steal samples. He'll steal clippings of plants from different places, and sometimes from places where he's not supposed to, and it gives me the horrors all the time. But he brings them home and he tries to get them to root so we can have more potted plants in the house, and that's one of the weird perks of being in a relationship with this particular man that I am very, very grateful for. I love how he likes to bring the outside in, so I'm really into that. I also feel like things like cooking and maintaining the home and stuff like that are a great way to connect to the element of earth without actually putting your hands in the earth or putting your feet on the earth. It's all about archetypes, I guess. I use the word archetypes kind of liberally, but what I mean is it's all about symbolism. And then air, well, I connect to air all the time by singing and by being active and getting, you know, my lungs working, and by engaging in communicative activities, back to that symbolism, writing, writing letters to old friends and stuff like that. I connect to fire by being kind of a pyromaniac. I like burning things and playing with candles and incense, and I enjoy the good outdoor campfire. I love the smell of campfire on my clothes. And I'm a very passionate person, so I feel like my connectivity to fire is very accessible. For water, I like to drink water, and I like to go swimming. That's one of my favorite activities. When I was a kid, I was obsessed with swimming. I would be in the pool for hours and hours and hours. My, you know, skin would get all shrivelly, and my mom would practically have to bribe me out of the public pool because that was one of my favorite things. I'm also a fan of crying because I feel so strongly all the time, and crying is something that I'm quite good at. If I feel something, I'll just let it out. And then if you're like me, you have other elements than the four cardinal, so I connect to spirit all the time. And then I am also a fan of the sixth element of the void, so connecting to the shadow. Those are the things that I do to get in touch with those two elements. 12, tea or coffee? Damn, I don't know if I can answer that question. Tea and coffee? Coffee followed by tea? Coffee in a tea bag. Tea in a coffee pot. Number 13, do you come from a witchy family? Do you feel that bloodline is important, or does it matter? Do I come from a witchy family? I can't say that I know. I would gather that, I mean, if I asked anybody in my family, hey, are there any witches in the family? The answer would likely be no. That doesn't mean that there aren't witches in my ancestry. You know, I've got some Celtic background, so maybe there were some pagans up in that piece, and the rest of my family are all Italian, so I imagine that there's pagan roots. You know, I'm of European bloodline, so I'm sure it's possible, but I don't know for sure. I'm not all that interested in, you know, hereditary magic or whatever. I feel like everybody, regardless of where they come from or from what kind of family or religious upbringing they come from, is capable of magic. And it's not necessarily a thing that is explicit to witches. You know what I mean? I feel like everybody has that power, and some of us choose to harness it deliberately. Some of us are sort of naturally gifted. As to why, I really don't care. I'm just glad that it's a thing that exists and that I get to experience it on the daily. So that's where I stand on that. List 3 of my favorite YouTube channels. Question 14. That is a great question. Well, okay, so I'm going to do this in... I don't like favoritism, so I'm not going to mention any YouTube pagans. Sorry, guys. But if you guys are interested in what else I watch on YouTube, I am happy to share. Let's see. Okay, so because I am an artist and I'm an arts and crafts nut, I really love watching people who do art shit on YouTube. And my current favorite is The Frugal Crafter. Her full name is Lindsay Wyrick. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. But if you look up The Frugal Crafter on YouTube, you'll find her. She's got amazing just videos galore of different crafting techniques, ways to save money. She does live paintings and live art pieces with her friend moderating in the background that I really like to listen to sometimes. I like to have that on in the background while I'm doing something on the floor over here, so that's super fun. The second would have to be Postmodern Jukebox because I am a fan of musical experimentation. I am also a fan of retro music, and I love covers, so I'm really into Postmodern Jukebox. It's great. I love the, my favorites on Postmodern Jukebox are, I like the version of Creep that they do. I like the one version of All About the Bass that they do with the one girl singing and she's playing the stand-up bass. There's 2 versions, but that one's my favorite. And their version of My Heart Will Go On, the Celine Dion song from the movie Titanic, is maybe the best thing I've ever heard in my life. So if you're interested, you really gotta check that out. And then the third one, my third favorite YouTube channel is probably Yoga with Adriene. I really love her direction as a yoga instructor, and I think that the resources that she puts out on the internet are very generous. So whenever I can, I try to catch up with Adriene, and yoga is really good for me, and it's one of my favorite forms of exercise because it requires a lot of focus. If I become unfocused, then I become uninterested, and if I'm not interested, then I just won't work out, because working out can be kind of boring and monotonous, you know what I mean? So Yoga with Adriene has been, you know, a favorite of mine for a couple of years. I'm really glad that I stuck with her. Number 15, what is your favorite witchy book? Oh man, I gotta look at my shelf. Okay, so this question was a little too hard for me to answer. I looked at my shelf and I looked at all of the books, the current witchy books that I've actually read, and it was really hard for me to choose which one to show you, so I chose 2. Pretty much my favorite book for personal use, and the one I use the most often, is the Encyclopedia of Crystals. It's a color photographic reference of crystals, and I use this the most often throughout my practice because I'm always using my stones. But since that's kind of a cheat, I wanted to pick a book that was one that I use a lot and explicitly a book written for witches, and that is Mrs. B's Guide to Household Witchery. I use this book a lot, and in fact I own 2 copies of it, and I don't know how I managed to do that. Okay. So I might gift that to somebody at some point, but yeah, I love it so much that I bought it twice and I use it all the time. I like that this is a practical book. I like creating, the more creative aspects of magic are wonderful, and I think it's great, but I find it a lot more personally gratifying if I create them myself. But if I'm looking for like a very bare bones practical, like here, if you want to go do something, here's how to do it kind of reference, then this book has been the one that I've enjoyed the most and that I continually go back and reference again. So, Mrs. B. Number 16, name an herb you haven't yet worked with. Gosh, there's so many herbs that I haven't worked with yet. It's not explicitly an herb, but I've always wanted to work with incense resins. I think there's something kind of archaeological, like the antiquation of continuing to use resins over, you know, how many millennia is, you know, gotta have some really good mojo in there, you know what I mean? I think it would really spice up some certain types of spell work, so at some point I'll probably delve in there, but for the most part I don't know that I have a specific herb in mind that I haven't worked with yet that I want to. I don't know. Right now I'm actually less interested in herbs and I'm more interested in flowers, and I have moonflowers that I've yet to plant. I want to do that soon, so if I can get them to bloom, I will put them on my channel. Number 17, what are your goals for next year? Damn, I feel so silly about saying this, but I've been so sort of wrapped up in all of the current events of my life that I haven't really thought about my goals for next year. Maybe to read more. I've definitely put that on the back burner, especially since all of like the frenzied energy around, you know, planning a wedding and all of the kooky shit that's been going on at work with me right now. I just feel so like my head is spinning all the time. So for me, I haven't really had a chance to sort of go back to my studies. I do spell work all the time, so I'm still learning and I'm still growing, but as far as like actual reading material, gosh, I haven't touched anything in a really long time, so definitely reading. Maybe to connect with other witches. That's something that I really want to do. I can't go to camp this year, so I might try to like join some meetup groups or go to Pride this summer. I'm not really sure. I'll just sort of think on it for a little while and see what I come up with, but I would definitely like to connect with more witches. Yeah, that's it. And that's it. That's the last question. So thanks for watching. I hope this was a bit of fun for you. It was for me, and I will see you next time. Until then, everybody, sweet dreams. See ya.